Okay, so in this part I'm going to show you some final results. You can see here I have our scope with the texture, our magazine with the bullets and without the bullets. We have our grip, of course, also with the texture, and our laser sight. So these have a pretty basic texture that I've created. I've also created a dust for each one of these assets, and of course I've created a similar workflow like for the weapon, so we are able to create to change in material instance some parameters, and we can tweak things like dust opacity, dust gloss, or the dust color, or even the color of the asset. So for example, we are able to change the color of this laser sight to a black or to a white or to a green color, for example. So I have here I've made some versions of the weapon with these parts, and this is the black version, so you can see we are able to create a dark version of this laser sight, and the same thing for grip and the magazine. And of course you can see we have some dust applied. This one, a little bit more extreme example, we have some snow or the ice. And this one is our original one, something like a forest weapon or something like this. And this one for the desert, maybe some desert sand colors. So you can see we've been able also create all these versions or all these colors using the material instances. And I'm going to show you how the shader for the scope and the laser sight looks. So you can see we have a laser sight and the scope on the one texture, just to save space. So it's 1K 2048 pixels per 2040 pixels, so this one is 2K texture. And the same thing like with the main part of our weapon, we are creating this kind of workflow where we are able to control by the vector parameter node the color of our in this case laser sight. So this is the mask that is masking the laser sight. We can control dust color, and of course some nodes that are going to the roughness channel, and we are able to control the dust opacity and the dust gloss, and also the emissive channel, emissive color, because we have a little light here for the laser, and we have this red pipe that is right here. So these nodes are controlling the emissive channel. Let me show you the instance, for example. The instance material, let's grab this one. So our light is here, and we have laser sight option, and when it's going to glow, and you can see this also in the viewport. So you can turn on or turn off this light. And of course we are able to control the dust gloss, which is pretty important because right now we have a dust applied for this particular one, so the dust gloss value is pretty high, and it means that we have almost no reflections going on the dust surface. But when we have something like the snow, in this case, we want to have some reflections, so we are able to control by dust gloss this value. Okay, but let's turn off the laser sight. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the textures right now, because of course for the texturing process of these parts like the scope, laser sight, magazine, I use Dido, and I will show you a few steps how I've started the creation process of these textures. Right now let's go maybe into some magazine material. I will show you how some of these parameters also work. You can see our dust gloss right now is set to 2, and when I go down you can see we are getting some more reflections on the surface of the dust. So really quickly we can change this dust into something like a snow. We can change the opacity of the dust. So you can see we have all these controls available. Magazine basic shader, it's pretty simple. We can't control the color of the magazine because I want it to be black all the time, so I stick with the black color, and we can't change this. Let's open the grip material. So the node tree is a little bit bigger because in this case we are able to control the color of the grip. So for example this one, we also can change all these parameters like the gloss. You can see right now we have tons of reflections, and we can change the color of the dust. Okay, right now I'm going to switch to Photoshop and Dido, and I'm going to show you how to create a basic textures for these assets. Okay, so we are in Photoshop right now. I'm starting our Dido. Let's load a mesh in our example. Let's start with the magazine. normal map for our magazine. And let's all create albedo and turn off this metalness and albedo for metalness. So we are creating albedo, gloss, ambient occlusion and normal map. All these options, calibration profile, Unreal Engine 4, and we can set a path, but in this example we don't need this. Let's create a base. So let's start a 3Do to preview our model. Some glitches, but right now it works. I have one bullet currently with this version of the mesh, but I'm not too much concerned about this because we are doing the preview of the textures. So for the magazine I choose a smart material and it's called Battle Armor, Battle Armor version 2. So let's hit create. So you can see, and I've been talking about this previously, Dido is excellent program for creating base textures, and I of course did this in this tutorial. So you can see Dido applied all the textures. Of course it's excellent for the base textures, but I always change tons of things in Photoshop manually. Let's for example open this one and let's make some changes, really basic changes. So I turned off the fine rust. We can go manually change or even here we can change the color of the metal to something that is darker, so it's more like our final magazine. And of course these scratches, we have to add a lot of scratches. We have ability to change this that we have here. Let's do this. And for the scratches I've choose this. I believe I've choose this one, acid or acid large. Let's check this. Probably this one. Of course it's not perfect, and like I said, I've done tons of changes manually in Photoshop, adding some fine scratches, handmade scratches, or just removing these. And of course we have a dust pass, so let's step back and add a material, and let's add this dry mud. It's excellent for making a dust. So let's hit create. So right now our dust is applied for everything. We have to create a mask, and we have two fine options. We have sand, which looks pretty okay. And we can duplicate this and change the mask for something different. And I've choose sand dirt. Of course we can tweak this, because now it's a little bit heavy. And now you see we have some of these small dust parts appearing on our surface. So these was the materials that I've used for creating a material for the magazine. So you can see we can always make some changes to these layers generated by the Dido. We can, for example, go to these base materials and make some changes here. For example, we can change the opacity or scale. So you can see we have some changes going on. So let's do another one. A grip was pretty simple. For the grip, so this was our grip, and I've choose just dark grain plastic. And I've changed the scale of this. To make it a little bit bigger. But you can see our normal map is pretty intensive. So let's go to a normal map tab. And let's turn down the intensity of this texture a little bit down. So now it looks pretty okay. Let's go back to albedo, step back, and let's add, of course, the dust. Our mask, and we can choose a sand. So you can see really amazingly quickly we've been able to create a texture for our grip. So for this one I've also made some manual changes. For example, this screw, I've made it a little bit more metal like, and that's it. Let's create right now our scope. So mesh for the laser and scope model, normal map. So you can see in using Dido the normal map is very important because all the details are there. So for the scope, really simple choice. This material. With some scratches, we have to add these scratches here. We can add new material. For example, brushed metal. Let's make a mask. So I've used some of these masks. And probably some other. So for this one we could also use this sand dirt for light scratches to generate some small scratches on the surface. Well, maybe this one is not really good, but this paint was pretty cool, I think. Oh, I forget we have to invert this texture. So I've used this one for sure, but we have to flip this. And of course it took me even few hours to manually add some fine scratches on the surface. So it was really a time-consuming process. So let's switch right now to Maya. And you can see I have our weapon here. Let's switch to flat lighting mode, and you can see my albedo textures. For the scope you can see all these fine scratches that I've manually made in Photoshop. So I'm not showing you how to do this because making for example these light scratches is very simple, but it's really time consuming to do them everywhere. And of course you can see we have also some dust, so the same stuff that we've been applying for the grip and magazine, a dried mood material with sand alpha. Here is our magazine texture. So also you can see all these I've added manually. I've balanced the opacity of the sand. And same thing with the grip, you can see this metal screw. And our laser sight. For the laser sight I've used the same texture in Dido that I've been using for these parts. So it's mainly the same material, but I've changed some colors and add a dirt. You can see a dirt material, also dried mood, and that's it really.